Hi, and welcome to Old Time Knowledge. Well, today I am going to be frying up some sausage and putting it in jars and canning it because I cleaned out my freezer yesterday. I've moved any new meats and things that I'm buying into food saver bags if I'm going to keep them in my freezer. But I did have some sausage that I bought last year in a 5-pound box. And I had cut it up into 1-pound sections and put it in Ziploc bags. So I took it all out yesterday and decided I'm just going to pull the sausage out of the casings and fry it up and get it in jars so that it'll be shelf stable. I don't know if you've been checking sausage prices recently, but they're crazy. So anyway, the main thing here is I want to get this out of my freezer because I'm not going to be cooking it anytime soon. I want to get it in jars so that it'll be fine regardless of what happens with the electricity. So that's what I'm going to do. Stick with me and we'll get right to it. All right, so I've put on some gloves because this is a messy job. I have actually never taken the sausage out of these casings before, so I'm not going to put you through watching me do this in real time. I'm going to speed this up because, first of all, this is humorous. This just doesn't work. I'm actually going to have to cut these open to get the sausage out. Don't laugh at me, y'all. Well, laugh at me if it makes you happy, whatever. Let me speed this up. Okay, so I did learn some things about the best way to cut sausage out of these casings, and if you already know, that's great. But I learned it's actually best if I cut it in sections and then just open the side and pull it out. Initially, I was trying to do it with the full lengths, which were like about a pound each, and this was originally a really, really, really long rope of sausage, like I say, 5 pounds, and I just had cut it up into these sections. So, but what I learned was, as I got into it and as I did more of these, cutting it into sections and then splitting it down the side made it super easy to just pull them right out, and it was a lot quicker that way. So then it was just a matter of getting it all in the pan and cooking it and letting all that grease come out, and I got as much grease as possible out and drained it before I started putting it in jars, but you'll see that as we move along. Okay, I've gotten all the sausage in the pan now. Over there I had some Italian sausage. That was also something I had in my freezer, but I'm not going to obviously be frying that with the country sausage because that'll just be weird. So I'll fry that separately and can that up. So I'm just letting you know what that is if you all of a sudden see it disappear, so you won't be sitting there wondering. So let me just cook this sausage down and we'll move along. Okay, here's the point where I start draining out the grease. I just got a bowl and I got that little ladle and just got up as much grease out as I reasonably could. I didn't want the skillet to be totally dry because it was still going to cook a little bit more, but I definitely don't want that in my jars. That's going to cause big problems. Okay, at this point, I just go ahead and start filling the jars. You see I'm using a slotted spoon because I definitely don't want to grab any of the grease that is left in the skillet. If there's any grease that's going to go into these jars, it's just going to be grease that's sticking to the sausage or grease that comes out of the sausage when it's pressure canning. So, and the reason why I'm using these small jars is because I didn't want to do a bunch of pints because sometimes I might just want a little bit of sausage. For instance, if I make sausage gravy and biscuits, I might not want a whole lot because we don't necessarily use a lot of sausage in that. We just will maybe use a little bit, so I'll open a small jar. Or if I want to use some sausage as a pizza topping, I can also just open a small jar for that. So I've got a couple of pint jars, I've got a 12-ounce jar, and then I've got several half-pint jars or 8-ounce jars. So now that they're in there, I just need to get the water in the jars and get the rims cleaned and get the lids on and get these in the canner. In case you're wondering, that's why I had that burner left on, because I knew I was going to need a little bit more water. I'm debubbling the jars. That's super important with something like this because you don't want air bubbles down at the bottom. So I just stuck that little plastic spoon in there and just moved it around just to get any air bubbles to come out. And so now I'm getting vinegar and I'm cleaning off the rims. I like to use vinegar when I've done anything greasy because it just helps cut through the grease, and I feel like I'm going to get a better seal that way. And I'm using 4 jars lids, if you can't tell. I ordered them on the recommendation of Lisa Sutton from Sutton's Days, and I've been happy with them so far. I ordered the regular mouth and the wide mouth canning lids. So anyway, here's my canner. I'm going to fill it up with the right amount of water. I'm going to add in a splash of vinegar because that just helps keep the mineral deposits from settling on the jars. I'm going to process these, even though they're different sizes. None of them are larger than a pint. So I'm going to process them all at the size for pints, which is 75 minutes. If I was doing quarts or something between pints and quarts, then I would be doing the quart size, which is 90 minutes. Okay, so after 75 minutes, they were done. I let the canner cool down completely, and here I am taking them out of the canner. And I will show you what they look like once they've cooled down, because you're going to see what that fat cap looks like. And I want you to know that it's normal, because it looks a little weird, but I promise you it's totally normal. Okay, so here it is the next day. The sausage has completely come down to room temperature. The jars are sealed. There is that fat cap that has solidified on top of the jars. That's fine. The main thing is you just don't want to leave something like this sitting on your shelf for 2 or 3 years. Anything with a lot of fat in it can go rancid. And that just is off-putting. So you want to try to eat this within the year. And I definitely will be. But I want you to know this is totally normal. It's also normal that the liquid is not up as high as it was when I filled the jars. That's fine. It's not a problem. Everything about this is normal, okay? Also, I haven't washed these jars yet, but when I wash them, it's not unusual for the fat to sort of start to dissolve a little bit with the hot water of the sink when I'm washing them. And so if that happens, don't freak out about that either. It'll all work out and it'll all be just fine. So I hope if you have any sausage, you might think about canning some. It's a super great staple to have on your shelf. You know, it's great that you can just take it out of the jars, just pour the contents in a pan, fry it up, and you've got sausage to use in any of your favorite recipes that use sausage. Sausage is getting so expensive, y'all. I'm going to have to start making my own sausage soon. I'm looking for a meat grinder that's a reasonable price, but that also is good quality. And because sausage is just crazy, and yet buying like a pork butt or shoulder is way cheaper. Anyway, that'll be another video for another time. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.